Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got if MVPs were given to the best players. So this video by Johnny Arnett right here. Actually, the other day on my main channel, Crispy Flakes, I was going to do a video where I was going to go back to like the season that Steve Nash won his second MVP, and I was going to do like a trade everybody except Steve Nash, just like see like what type of team I could put around him. Because that year, you know, a lot of people thought that Kobe should have run it over Steve Nash and him having back-to-back, right, man? So this should be really interesting just to, like, see, like, maybe who should have won it based off of best. Because most valuable, I guess, does not always mean the most best player, right? Or then LeBron James probably would have won in damn 10 years in a row. So here we go, man. Link to Johnny's channel in the description below.
Formula that they very rarely diverge from. For one, you need to be on an elite winning team. Number two, you have to have really nice stats, but not necessarily the best stats as long as you're winning a lot. And number three, you have to have a nice story to the season. Yeah,
the good story one is the one that gets me. I mean, you know, that's like essentially like how you win MVP. You gotta have a good story, because you look at Russell Westbrook when he got like his triple-double. The next season he averaged a triple-double. I don't even think he even finished like top 5 for voting, because like the story was old news. So it's kind of weird. There's like no like correct answer for how to decipher the MVP.
Specifically, to really emphasize how important winning is to the formula, listen to this. In the past 30 years of NBA basketball, every single MVP winner has finished in the standings
did not know that.
as a top 2 team in his conference, with the exception of one.
It's good to know.
Which was Russell Westbrook in 2017, who was the first player to average a triple-double since 1962. So unless you can do something so incredibly historic
Oscar
that
the Grouch.
breaks the formula, you're not winning MVP unless your team is
That's
an
Sesame
elite
Street.
winning team. But is this fair? Is this really the most accurate way to gauge a player's value? Many people.
Well, even this season, like, you know, people were talking about James Harden potentially winning it, and not a top 2 seed, are they? What was their record like? What seed were they last year, though? Were they a top 2 seed? They must have been, I guess.
People don't.
No, not last year. The year before, James Harden won it, right? Yeah.
And think that the award too strongly favors players on elite teams rather than who's honestly the best player or the most valuable player in a literal sense. So what if we said screw the formula and instead just gave the award to the player who was literally that season's best
LeBron wins it every year.
Well, things would change up quite a bit. The decade we're looking at in this video is the 2000s, and let me know in a comment if you agree or disagree with these choices. In the year 2000, Shaquille O'Neal won the MVP award by a wide margin.
Okay.
And if it was given to the best player that season, Shaq would still keep the award.
I have no doubts about that.
Shaq we ever saw.
No doubts about that.
29.7 points, 13.6 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 3 blocks.
Giannis literally is like the prototype Shaq. Like, that's literally like the numbers that like Giannis puts up now.
On 57.4% shooting.
Maybe not the blocks,
it was
but
his personal
defense is so great.
In points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. There wasn't a player in the league who was as coveted as Shaq was at that time. His dominance controlled the game like no other player.
Chucky Atkins says hello.
On both sides of the court. He should have been the first ever unanimous MVP winner, but one delusional voter out of a total of 121 voters thought Allen Iverson should win the award instead. Speaking of Iverson, in the year 2001, Allen Iverson won the MVP award, but if it was actually given to the best player that season,
Shaq again, probably.
Iverson would lose the award, and it would have gone to Shaq instead. This isn't intending to take anything away from Iverson's greatness, as I recognize that he had an amazing...
But man, like, even like saying like best player, like what does that even mean exactly? Because every team's like every player's a different circumstance. So like even like being like the best player, you really can't just look at stats for that either. I don't know. It's so... There really is no correct answer.
...season carrying the 76ers offensively. He averaged 31.1 points, 4.6 assists, and 2.5 steals on 42% shooting.
They really should switch MVP to STD, and that would be stats that dominate. Stats that dominate. I think that's what the name they should... I'm sorry, man. I think a stupid joke is in my head.
76ers won the most games.
I'm sorry, it will not be the STD. It will be the MVP
and that was
still.
Part of the reason he beat out Shaq in the race. But if we're being honest, Shaq impacted the game in more ways than Allen Iverson did, as O'Neal dominated on both the offensive and defensive side of the court, unlike Iverson. O'Neal's production was
a decent defense, isn't he?
Near
He was
unanimous
decent.
MVP season, but it really wasn't that far off, as he averaged 28.7 points, 12.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 2.8 blocks on 57% shooting. Shaq also had a player efficiency rating of 30.2, which is ridiculous.
Offensive stats always outbeat defensive stats, though, for awards.
Far, beating out Allen
It makes no
Iverson by
sense.
more than 6 points.
Two sides of the court.
Just emphasizes how he impacted the game in more ways. In 2002,
you don't tell me when Steve Nash won it, obviously what he did for his team offensively, playmaking wise and stuff was important, but he didn't play a lick of defense. So there was players out there that still dominated the offensive side, but they were just astronomically higher than Steve Nash was defensively. So that's why it's more of an offensive award than anything. It's like Offensive Player of the Year in football.
Duncan won the league MVP award, and on this new list,
but there's Defensive Player of the Year. There's no Offensive Player of the Year. So
Duncan put up averages of 25.5 points, 12.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 2.5 blocks on 50%
with all layups and
shooting,
damn bank shots too.
Was arguably the best regular season of his career. Shaq's production had again dipped from the previous year, but this time he didn't even make an all-defense team appearance, while Duncan was the best at his position
in the
area, making first
team
Sounds
like Shaq.
Defense. Kobe also began to break out this season, but in terms of efficiency, statistically, and overall impact on both ends, Duncan maintains his edge. In 2003, Duncan was once again the league MVP winner, but now he barely loses the award to Kobe Bryant.
Yep, here we go.
If the playoffs and the NBA Finals were part of the award,
can't believe he's only got one MVP.
Then Duncan certainly wouldn't be giving this award up, because his postseason was dominant on a historical level. His regular season averages were 23.3 points, 12.9 rebounds, and 2.9 blocks on 51% shooting. Kobe, on the other hand, averaged 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists.
Yo, speaking of the name Tim Duncan, I saw this on Instagram. There's a basketball player that just got recruited to his college. His name is Slam Dunkley. He goes to SJU. Oh wait, oh damn it. Oh what? What's that? Oh, I thought he was on basketball. No, he's on men's rowing team. What is this? SJU men's rowing team. I thought he was on the damn basketball team. His name is Sam Dunkley. He's a does damn rowing.
2 steals on 45% shooting and 38% from 3-point
name's Slam Dunkley.
Although
Damn,
Duncan
don't play
has
basketball.
the edge in field goal percentage, Kobe and Duncan had an almost identical true shooting percentage. It's probably the most underrated season of Kobe's career, as he was finally beginning to establish himself as the Lakers' best player. Within this season, Kobe had a night where he set an NBA record with 12 three-pointers made in a game, and he also
That's crazy
had a
back in 2003
streak of 9 straight 40-point games, which, excluding Wilt Chamberlain, is tied for the most consecutive games ever with Michael Jordan. He averaged 40.6 points in the entire month of February.
That is insane, man. In 2003,
and a remarkable 43% from three-point range, and the Lakers won 11-3 in that stretch. He did all of this while locking up guys on the other end of the court. There's certainly an argument to be made for Duncan to keep it, but for me, Kobe was the best player this season. In 2004, Kevin Garnett was
Pistons
the MVP
championship
winner,
should be Ben Wallace.
and he's going to keep the award because he was easily the league's best player that season. Shaq's game had continued to drop off.
Ben Wallace would clamp up though.
Began that season significantly overweight and only averaged slightly over 20 points per game that year, which is disappointing by his standards. Kobe was dealing with a multitude of injuries and was also caught in the middle of the Colorado trials. So although he had an impressive season when all things are considered, he was still producing well below his usual standards. Tim Duncan had a good year, but Kevin Garnett had the best season of his life, as he averaged 24.2 points.
I guess even with KG though, it seems like a lot of like in the earlier years like this, before social media was a thing, it seems like story actually wasn't really a big deal. Like a lot of these, it's like I don't really see like a story with a lot of these players. Maybe with Iverson, of course, but really the story wasn't a big thing till like social media.
13.9 rebounds.
Where more people will talk about like Russell's triple-double.
And 2.2 blocks on 50% shooting. He led his team in 4 out of the 5 major statistical categories, nearly leading his team in every major category for the second straight season. Essentially, Garnett made this year one of the easiest decisions I had to make for this.
Love to watch him prime KG.
In 2005, Steve Nash won the MVP award, and this time he loses the award to Kevin Garnett. This was a tough season to choose as no one clearly stood out among the crowd, and I could see a solid argument being made for up to 8 different players. Nash was the engine that drove the Suns' incredible offense, but very few people would go as far as saying that he was the league's best player.
Statistically didn't dominate.
His player efficiency rating is far lower than just about every other MVP candidate, and Nash was never known to be a good defensive player, which is literally half the game. Shaq had a good bounce-back season with Miami, but clearly wasn't the force he once was defensively. Kobe had arguably his worst season of the 2000s, as he was well below his efficiency standards, and the Lakers were losing a ton, and he did not make an all-defense team appearance that season, which is a rare miss for him. In the actual MVP voting, Garnett finished barely outside of the top 10, but that was in large part because of the team's overall lack of success,
they were
just 43 games. That wasn't
complete
his fault,
garbage,
though, as he was once again a statistical monster on both ends, averaging 22.2 points, 13.5 rebounds,
scoring's kind of basic for today's standards.
1.5 steals,
a lot slower back then, though.
Blocks on 50% shooting. In 2006, Nash won his second straight MVP award, but he's losing this one as well, this time to Kobe Bryant. It's not that Nash didn't have a good season.
It's a very hot topic.
He did, putting up 18.8 points and 10.5 assists on a 50-40-90 season. It's just that Kobe had individually the best season of his career, as he put up 35.4 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4.5
that team was bad though, wasn't it?
1.8 steals on 45% shooting. In this season, he also made first team all-defense, making this year the highest scoring season by a player to ever officially make first team all-defense. He also had his iconic performances of 62 3/4 and 81 points against the Raptors.
I do remember that team had like Smush Parker.
As the number 2 seed and the Lakers finishing as the number 7 seed was the major difference in the actual MVP voting. But at the time, Kobe was clearly the better overall player. In 2007, Dirk Nowitzki won the MVP award, but he loses this one to a prime Kobe Bryant.
Man, Kobe's about to win damn 10 straight.
With averages of 24.6 points and 9 rebounds on 50-40-90 percentages. And as Mavericks...
Notice how we're in the 2007 season. We have not heard about LeBron yet. Yo, is that Mark Cuban? Bro, that facial hair is not it. I'm just saying.
7 games, which often means the best player on that team wins the MVP award. I'm starting to sound a bit repetitive at this point, but it's something I can't ignore, and that's the defensive end. I simply think it's almost impossible to be considered the best player in the league if you're not also elite on the defensive end.
I agree with that 1,000,000,000%.
Dirk was certainly a capable defender, 1,000,000,000%. But never at any point of his career was he considered elite.
But you're averaging
Kobe,
20 billion points a game.
Once again, first team all defense to go along with his averages of 31.6 points, 5.7 rebounds, 5.4 assists,
that's MVP.
And 1.4 steals on 46%.
That's MVP.
Shooting. In 2008, Kobe won his first actual MVP award. But on this new list, he actually loses to Chris Paul. Now hear me out. This was a very heated MVP race, and once again, if the postseason was included, we would have a different story, and Kobe would keep his award. But since it's just the regular season, I'm completely confident in saying that
CP3 was probably all defensive first or second, wasn't he?
CP3 has been in the league for so long now that a lot of people don't know how good he was in his prime.
Oh, I remember.
I remember cases where the prime of his
that was my team back in the day. They had CP3, Mo Pete, Peja Stojakovic kind of came around later, I think, but there was James Posey, love James Posey, David Westman. Yo, David West, CP3, pick and pop from the elbow, unstoppable. Tyson Chandler was on that team. I remember that because Jason Maxfield threw his shit back bad once before. I'm trying to think whatever players were on there, man. That was a nasty team. I loved. That was like my favorite squad back then, besides the Pistons.
Career was actually in his early 20s. New Orleans CP3 was just on a separate level from his Clippers and Rockets days. Sure, Kobe had averages of 28, 6, and 5 on 46% shooting while being elite defensively, but Paul also made first team all defense that season, putting up averages
I think that's Posey right there,
background. Points, 11.6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2.7 steals.
While being like 4'9".
The 22-year-old led the league in assists and steals and was the best defender at his position. He simply dominated in more ways than Kobe did, which is reflected in his significantly higher player efficiency rating that season. In 2009, LeBron James won his first MVP award, and in this new format, he keeps the award.
Barely. About damn time.
LeBron led his Cavs to 66 wins, but even outside of the team accomplishments, he just had a fantastic year on an individual level.
Garbage-ass team.
4 points, 7.6 rebounds, 7.2 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.1 blocks on 49% shooting. This was also his first season making the NBA's all-defense team. Kobe had a great season as well and went on to win the NBA championship. But statistically, LeBron clearly had the superior regular season, Dwayne Wade, on the other hand, had very similar numbers to LeBron, but his Heat only won 43 games, so...
Man, I miss this era of basketball so much, guys. I miss it, man.
LeBron keeps this award over Wade, though, mostly due to his first-team All-Defense appearance and his higher PER than Wade's that season. Do you agree with the list? Let me know in the comments section which years you think...
Alright, there we go. Yeah, guys, that is the end of the video, man. That's actually pretty interesting. Like, it just goes to show how much it changes year in, year out. There's not consistency with it. It's pretty much like narrative driven. So I don't know, man. What do y'all think? Is there any like really ones that like really bother you? Or are you just kind of okay with history and just like, okay, man, that's just kind of how it played out? Yeah, guys, go check out Johnny's channel, link in the description below. Peace out.